I was holding the stainless spoon in my hand, the one Mama always hid, and she was crying on the bed, telling me she did not want to die without it close to her. That moment shook me so much that my chest felt hot. I did not understand why a spoon could make her shake like that, and I felt scared that something big and painful was hiding behind her tears. Before that day came, the whole thing started small, like something you see every day and ignore. Growing up, I always saw Mama hide one spoon anytime she cooked. She would serve food, smile at us, tell us to eat well, then quietly pick one stainless spoon, clean it with her wrapper, and keep it somewhere. Sometimes she put it inside her box, sometimes inside her handbag, sometimes under her clothes in the drawer. Nobody knew why she did it. We all joked about it. My younger sister even called it Mama's secret spoon. But Mama never laughed when we joked. She would just hold the spoon tight and walk away. I used to follow her around, trying to see where she kept it. I wanted to know why it was so important. She always noticed me and sent me away. Leave me, go and do something else. That was all she ever said. So I stopped trying, but the thing stayed in my mind. I did not like that she was hiding something from us. Mama was a simple woman. She liked to talk. She liked to laugh. She liked to share stories from when she was small. So this spoon matter confused me. One Harmattan morning, the whole story changed. Mama had been sick for days, moving slowly like her body was too heavy. She still tried to cook small things for us, but her hands shook sometimes. That morning, I went to her room to change her pillowcase because she said the pillow was making her neck pain her. As I lifted the pillow, I felt something hard in a nylon. I opened it and saw the spoon, the same stainless spoon. At first, I thought she hid it there by mistake. Then I saw the nylon wrap was neat, like something she did with care. I sat on the bed and looked at the spoon. My chest felt tight. I called her and asked her to tell me the meaning of the spoon. Her face changed. Her eyes went soft and wet. She looked like someone carrying a heavy load inside her heart. That was the moment everything started to open. That was the moment I knew this spoon story was not small at all. The truth was bigger than I expected, and I did not know it yet, but that truth was about to change how I saw my mother forever.
Mama sat up slowly on the bed, and for one long moment, she just looked at me like she was thinking of a place far away. I held the spoon in my hand, and I felt my stomach twist because I had never seen her eyes look that sad and scared at the same time. It was like she was fighting herself, trying to decide if she should talk or keep quiet. I wanted to tell her she could trust me, but my throat felt tight, so I just waited. She touched the spoon with her fingers, small and gentle, like she was touching the skin of a newborn baby. Her hands were shaking. I knew something heavy was coming, but I did not know it would be something that would make the whole house feel different for many days after. She whispered my name. Then her voice broke. She said the spoon was not just a spoon. It was the last thing her mother held before she died. I did not understand at first. I knew my grandmother died before I was old enough to know her, but I never heard anything about a spoon, so I asked Mama to explain better. She pulled her wrapper close to her chest and sighed. She said when she was giving birth to me, things went wrong. She said she was bleeding too much and the nurse was worried. She said her mother was the one running up and down, shouting for help, praying, crying, begging God to save her. After she delivered me, she was too weak to sit up, so her mother fed her warm pap with that same spoon. Mama said her mother looked at her and told her she would not die and that I would bring light into her life. I felt something deep move inside my chest when she said that. Then her voice became small. She told me that same night while she slept with me beside her, her mother died quietly in the next room. She said she never forgot the way her mother's hand held this spoon when she was feeding her. She kept it because she believed that holding it meant her mother was still close. She said anytime she touched it, she felt a kind of peace in her heart. I did not know when my eyes started to burn. Mama was crying, saying she hid the spoon because she did not want anybody to laugh at her or call her foolish. She said she started keeping it under her pillow when her sickness became worse because she was scared. She said she felt like her days might be ending and she wanted the spoon close so she would not feel alone if anything happened. I sat there holding the spoon tight and my whole body felt heavy. I could not believe she carried that kind of fear alone. All the times we joked about the spoon, she was hiding pain. All the times we thought she was being dramatic, she was protecting a memory that kept her strong. I held her hand and told her she should not hide anything again. She kept crying and I kept looking at the spoon, and in that moment, I understood that this thing I used to laugh about was the key to a story I never knew my mother carried in her heart.
After Mama told me everything about the spoon, something inside me changed. I could not look at it the same way again. Before, it was just one stainless spoon that she always hid like a secret. Now, it felt like a piece of someone I never met, but somehow loved already. The air in the room felt heavy that afternoon, and I kept thinking about the story again and again, like my mind refused to let it rest. Mama lay back on the bed because her body was still weak. I wanted her to sleep, but she kept staring at the ceiling, breathing slowly, like someone who was remembering old things that still hurt. I moved the chair closer to her and held her hand. I told her to close her eyes and rest, that I would sit there with her. She nodded but did not sleep. I could see she was fighting tears. After a while, I asked her why she never told anybody the story. She looked at me and said she wanted to protect us. She said she did not want her children to grow up with fear in their hearts. She said when I was small, she used to sit by my bed and watch me sleep because she was scared something would happen to me too. She said the spoon helped her stay strong because it reminded her that her mother prayed for me. I did not know those words would hit me so hard. My chest felt tight and I squeezed her hand gently. Later that evening, I left her room to make sure she ate something. My younger sister was in the sitting room watching TV, and she asked me why Mama had not come out all day. I told her Mama was tired, but I did not tell her anything about the spoon. The story felt too heavy to share. It felt like something I needed to carry a little longer before letting it out. I wanted to protect Mama's heart the same way she had been protecting ours for years. I went to the kitchen and warmed some rice for her. When I brought it to her room, she tried to sit up by herself but almost fell back. I rushed and helped her, and she smiled a small, weak smile. She used the spoon from the kitchen drawer, not the special one, and she ate very slowly. When she finished, I cleaned her mouth and helped her lie down again. That night, I sat outside the house for a long time, just thinking. The compound was quiet. Only the sound of crickets filled the air. I held the spoon in my hand because I took it with me. I kept turning it around between my fingers. I imagined my grandmother holding it. I imagined her feeding Mama with it. I imagined her praying for me on the day I was born. It felt strange that something that small carried so many tears, so much love, and the memory of someone I never knew. I looked at the sky and promised myself that I would not let Mama go through anything alone again. I would help her carry whatever she was hiding. I would protect her the way she had protected me. That night marked the beginning of a new kind of closeness between us, and I did not know that the real trouble was still coming. Trouble that would test that promise in ways I did not expect. The next morning started with trouble. I woke up before the sun because I heard Mama coughing from her room. The cough was deep and heavy, the kind that shakes the whole body. I ran inside and saw her sitting on the edge of the bed, holding her chest like the air was refusing to enter. I rushed to her side and helped her sit up properly. Her face looked pale and her eyes were tired, like she had not slept at all. I asked her if she was feeling worse, but she shook her head lightly. She said she would be fine, that it was just small cold. But I knew it was more than that. I could feel it. Something in me was scared, a fear I had never felt before. I told her we should go to the hospital, but she refused. She said she did not want to waste money when we still had food to buy for the house. She always thought of us first, even when her body was giving her warning signs. I stepped outside her room to get water, and that was when I decided I would not leave things the way they were.
I went to Papa and told him Mama was not well at all. He stood up quickly and followed me. When he saw her, worry spread across his face. He told her they were going to the hospital whether she liked it or not. Mama did not argue. She just closed her eyes and nodded like she did not have strength to fight anymore. We prepared her slowly. I held her arm while Papa searched for the car keys. When she stood up, she tried to walk by herself, but her legs shook. I wrapped her arm around my shoulder and guided her gently. She leaned on me like a child leaning on a grown person. I felt my heart break a little. Seeing her that weak was something I was not ready for. When we reached the sitting room, something happened that made me freeze. Mama suddenly stopped walking and held my arm tight. She whispered for me to go back to her room and bring the spoon. I looked at her confused. Papa was telling us to hurry, but Mama kept shaking her head. She said she could not leave the house without the spoon. Her voice was shaking. I ran back into her room, picked it from the small table where I kept it the night before, and rushed out. When I placed it in her hand, she held it close to her chest and breathed out slowly, like it gave her strength. The drive to the hospital felt long. I sat at the back seat with her, her head resting on my shoulder. Every time the car hit a small bump, she winced. I held her hand and I could feel her fingers shaking lightly. When we reached the hospital, nurses rushed to us and took her inside. They told us to wait outside. I watched her disappear into the room and my chest felt empty. Papa paced up and down worried. I sat on the plastic chair holding the spoon in my palm. She gave it to me before they entered the room, telling me to keep it safe. I held it tight and prayed inside my heart. The minutes felt like hours. I kept thinking of her story, of her mother, of that night she gave birth to me. The thought of losing her made my whole body shake. At some point, a nurse came out and asked Papa to sign some papers. Papa's hands were trembling. I stood up and went close to him, even though I did not understand what the papers were for. I just wanted to be near him. The nurse told us to be patient. That word patient made my stomach twist because it sounded like something people say when they do not want to tell you the truth yet. The day dragged slowly. I kept staring at the door, praying for Mama to come out. I did not know that the night would bring more fear, more tears, and something that would change the way I held that spoon forever.
Night fell before we knew it, and the hospital compound became quiet, except for the sound of generators humming somewhere far away. A small yellow bulb shone above the bench where I sat, holding the spoon in my hand. My fingers were tired, but I refused to drop it. Papa had gone to talk to a doctor, so I was alone for a while. My eyes kept going to the door where they took Mama. Every time it opened, my heart jumped, but it was never her. After some time, Papa came back and sat beside me. His face looked older, like the worry had added more years to him. He said the doctor told him Mama was resting after they gave her some injections and put drip on her. He said they were watching her closely because her body was too weak. When he told me that, the spoon in my hand felt heavier. I closed my palm around it and whispered inside my heart that Mama would be fine. Around 9 p.m., a nurse came and said only one person could see her for now. Papa told me to go because Mama would want to see me first. I stood up slowly and walked behind the nurse. My legs were shaking and I held the spoon close to my chest. When we entered the room, I saw Mama lying on the bed with a drip connected to her arm. Her eyes were closed and her breathing was slow but steady. Her wrapper was folded near her waist and a small light above the bed made her face look soft. I walked to her side and touched her hand. Her eyes opened a little, and when she saw me, she smiled weakly. She asked for the spoon with her eyes, not even with words. I placed it gently in her hand. She held it like a treasure and pressed it against her chest. I sat on the small stool beside her and told her I was there, that I was not going anywhere. She nodded and closed her eyes again. She started talking softly, saying she was proud of me, saying she was no longer afraid because she was not alone anymore. She said she wanted to get well so she could cook for us again. Her voice was slow but full of hope.
I held her hand and promised her she would get well, even though fear was dancing inside my heart. After some minutes, her breathing became calmer, like she was sleeping. I watched her face and remembered all the stories she used to tell us when we were small. I remembered how she protected us, how she worked hard every day, how she laughed even when things were hard. The spoon, shiny and small in her hand, became more than a story. It became a picture of everything she had survived. When the nurse came to tell me visiting time was over, I did not want to leave, but I stood up slowly. Before leaving, I whispered into her ear that I loved her. She did not open her eyes, but her fingers moved gently on the spoon, like she heard me. That night, I slept on the bench outside her room. I did not care about the cold or the hard seat. I just wanted to stay close. Papa slept on another bench, his head resting against the wall. Nurses walked in and out, but I kept my focus on Mama's door. By morning, they told us she was stable. Not healed, not fully strong, but stable. That word felt like sunlight entering a dark place. When they finally allowed us inside again, she looked better. Still weak, still tired, but better. She even managed a small smile. She held the spoon out to me and told me to keep it safe now. She said she did not need to hide it again, that she was ready to breathe freely without fear. I held the spoon and looked at her, and I knew something had changed forever. From that day, the spoon stayed on a small wooden shelf in our sitting room. No hiding, no secrets. Anytime people visited and asked about it, Mama would smile and tell them it was a story of love, pain, and a mother who never gave up. And each time I look at it, I remember the night in the hospital, the fear, the prayers, and the quiet truth that tied 3 generations together. The spoon that once hid under a pillow became the brightest thing in our home, a reminder that even small things can carry the biggest stories.